In Those Who Wear Black, the climax erupts as Captain Reeves confronts General Xylan, moments before her emotion suppression device activates. With Wright secretly recalibrating the machine, Reeves declares emotion humanity's strength, not weakness. When activated, the reverse device floods everyone with restored feelings, bringing Xylan to her knees as her soldiers awaken to horror, proving humanity's greatest power lies in what they feel, not what they control. Captain Mara Reeves adjusted the collar of her uniform, the sleek black material absorbing light, like a black hole. The mirror reflected what she hoped the galaxy would see: strength, resolve, and the undeniable capability of humanity. The emblem of Earth's elite security force, those who wear black, gleamed subtly on her chest, contrasting against the darkness of her attire. "Confidence before competence," she muttered to herself, an old academy saying. Yet, as leader of Earth's premier HFY team, she knew that today, both would be scrutinized. The Galactic Alliance's Week of Confidence had brought together the most elite security forces from across hundreds of worlds to Orion Prime, a massive neutral space station that served as the crossroads of interstellar diplomacy. In 2389, humanity was still considered the new kid on the block, respected for their rapid technological advancement, but often dismissed for their fragile physiology. Captain Reeves exited her quarters, nodding at Sergeant Koran, who waited in the corridor. The 8-foot saurian scales gleamed under the station lights, his powerful tail occasionally twitching with impatience. "The briefing starts in 20 minutes, Captain," Koran said, his voice a deep rumble. "Ambassador Ross wants to speak with you beforehand." Mara nodded. "Lead the way." As they walked through the bustling corridors of Orion Prime, she couldn't help but notice the looks they received. Koran, with his impressive physique and natural armor, drew looks of respect. She, however, detected the subtle dismissiveness in the glances of other species: the Braxians with their 4 arms, the silicon-based lithoids, and the massive Jotnar warriors. Humans, with their soft skin and relative physical weakness, remained an enigma to many. How had such fragile creatures survived on their homeworld, let alone earned a place in the Alliance? That was precisely what Those Who Wear Black had been formed to demonstrate. Earth's elite force comprised humans and trusted allies from other species, all unified by the simple black uniform that had become their trademark. Ambassador Helena Ross waited in a secure conference room, her silver hair pulled back in a tight bun. Despite being in her 70s, she carried herself with the vigor of someone half her age. "Captain," she greeted warmly, "I trust your team is prepared for today's demonstration." "Yes, Ambassador. Though I'm still not clear on why we were specifically requested to participate. Most participating forces are purely military. We're a specialized security detail." Ambassador Ross's expression turned serious. "There have been concerns raised about Earth's contribution to the Alliance. Some factions believe we're holding back technological advancements. Others think we're too ambitious for our age as a spacefaring species." She sighed. "Politics, Captain. This demonstration is as much about diplomacy as it is about security." "I understand," Mara nodded, though a hint of frustration colored her voice. "We'll make Earth proud." "I know you will," Ross replied. Then lowered her voice. "There's something else. Intelligence reports suggest unusual activity among certain Alliance factions. Nothing concrete, but—" A chime interrupted her, indicating the main conference was about to begin. "We'll discuss this later," the ambassador said. "For now, keep your team alert. This may be more than a simple demonstration." Mara and Koran escorted Ambassador Ross to the main hall, a massive chamber with transparent dome ceilings that offered a breathtaking view of the surrounding nebula. Representatives from over 200 worlds filled the room, their diverse physiologies a testament to the vastness of sentient life in the galaxy. As they found their designated seating, Mara scanned the room, noting security positions and potential vulnerabilities, a habit formed during years of service. Her team was scattered strategically throughout the hall, each member of those who wear black positioned to respond to any threat. The Galactic Alliance's High Chancellor, a towering Aquarian named Celerix, took the central platform. His translucent blue skin rippled as he raised all four arms in a traditional greeting. Esteemed representatives of the Alliance, we gather today in the spirit of unity and mutual respect. The week of confidence serves as a reminder that our strength lies not in our individual capabilities, but in our collective. The Chancellor's words were cut short by a deafening explosion. The far wall of the conference hall disintegrated, sending fragments of metal and glass hurtling through the air. Through the smoke and chaos, armed figures poured into the room, a mix of species, all wearing modified combat gear with unfamiliar insignias. Mara's training kicked in instantly. "Secure the ambassador!" she commanded Koran, already drawing her sidearm. Through her earpiece, she transmitted rapid orders to her scattered team. "Code Black, I repeat, Code Black. Secure all Earth diplomats and converge on Extraction Point Alpha." The attackers moved with military precision, targeting communication systems first. Within seconds, the station's internal communications went dark. Emergency lighting bathed the hall in crimson as the attackers began herding diplomats together. Mara pulled Ambassador Ross behind a toppled conference table as Koran took a defensive position beside them. The ambassador remained remarkably composed, though her eyes betrayed her concern. "This isn't a random attack," Ross whispered. "They're too organized." Mara nodded, accessing her wrist computer. "Station-wide communications are jammed, but our secure channel is still operational." She opened a direct line to her team. "Status report." Lieutenant Novak's voice came through, punctuated by the sound of weapons fire. "Captain, we've got at least 30 hostiles. They've sealed all main exits and are systematically taking control of key sections. This isn't a robbery. They're after something specific." "Or someone," Mara replied, glancing at Ambassador Ross. "Priority 1 is getting our people to safety. Rally at the service corridors behind Section 7. We'll use maintenance tunnels to reach the emergency shuttles." As she finished giving instructions, a low hum filled the air. A holographic projection appeared at the center of the hall, a masked figure in black armor. "Representatives of the Galactic Alliance," the figure spoke, its voice artificially modulated. "Consider yourselves guests of the Liberation Front. Your governments will receive our demands shortly. Compliance is advised. Resistance is discouraged." The transmission cut off, leaving the hall in uneasy silence before panic resumed. "We need to move," Mara said, helping the ambassador to her feet. "Koran, take point. I'll cover our rear." As they slipped away from the main chaos, Mara received a priority transmission from Earth Command, a message that had somehow broken through the jamming. "Captain Reeves, this is Admiral Ortega. We've lost contact with Orion Prime but received fragmented distress signals. Alliance emergency protocols give your team operational autonomy. Primary objective: ensure the safety of Earth's diplomatic corps. Secondary objective: gather intelligence on the attackers. Trust no one outside your immediate team. Good luck, Captain. Earth stands with you." The message ended, leaving Mara with the weight of command pressing heavily on her shoulders. As they navigated through maintenance corridors, she made a decision. "Koran, get the ambassador to Extraction Point Alpha. I'm going to gather the rest of the team." The Saurian's eyes narrowed. "With respect, Captain, splitting up increases risk. It also increases our chances of completing both objectives," Mara countered. "The ambassador's safety is paramount, but we need to understand what we're dealing with. This attack is too coordinated to be random piracy." Koran hesitated, then gave a curt nod. "As you command, Captain. But take Specialist Wright with you. His technical skills may prove useful." As Koran led Ambassador Ross away, Mara and technical specialist Wright, a compact, quick-witted human with a genius for systems, headed toward the station's security hub. If they could access the internal monitoring systems, they might gain valuable insights into the attackers' objectives. The corridors were eerily quiet, the normal bustle of the station replaced by distant alarms and occasional weapons fire. Wright worked quickly at each security checkpoint, bypassing locked doors and rerouting power to maintain their progress. "Captain," Wright whispered as they approached a junction, "I'm detecting unusual energy signatures ahead, not standard Alliance weaponry." Mara gestured for silence, then slowly advanced. Around the corner, two attackers stood guard at an access point, their weapons unlike anything she'd seen before, sleek, with pulsing blue circuitry visible through transparent sections. "Those aren't black market," Wright murmured. "That's bleeding-edge tech, maybe even beyond current Alliance capabilities." Mara considered their options. 2 guards, unknown weaponry, and a need for stealth. She reached for a small device on her belt, a neural disruptor, designed to temporarily incapacitate without causing permanent harm. "On my mark," she whispered. 3, 2, 1. They moved in perfect synchronization. Mara's disruptor hit the first guard, while Wright's precision shot took down the second. Both attackers collapsed without raising an alarm. Wright immediately began examining the unusual weapons. "This is incredible. The power source uses quantum fluctuation principles that I've only seen in theoretical papers. And this control mechanism," he pointed to a neural interface. "It's designed to respond to emotional states. The calmer the user, the more precise the weapon." "Can you trace its origin?" Mara asked, keeping watch. Wright's expression grew troubled. "That's the thing, Captain. Some of these components, they're based on Earth research. Dr. Elena Park's work on emotional regulation technology. But she never developed weapons applications. Her research was purely medical." Mara felt a chill run through her. "Are you certain?" "The base algorithms are unmistakable. I studied under Dr. Park before joining the service." Wright looked up, concern evident in his eyes. "Someone has weaponized her research, but the implementation is beyond our current capabilities. We're looking at a collaboration." Before Mara could process this information, her secure comm activated. "Captain!" Koran's voice was strained, the sound of combat in the background. "We've been ambushed in Section 12. The attackers knew our extraction routes. The ambassador is secure for now, but we're pinned down." "Hold position," Mara replied. "We're on our way." She turned to Wright. "Download what you can from those weapons. We need evidence." As they rushed to aid Koran and the ambassador, Mara's mind raced. If Earth technology had somehow been weaponized and used in this attack, the political ramifications could be devastating. Humanity's standing in the Alliance was already precarious. Accusations of providing advanced weapons to terrorists would be catastrophic. They arrived at Section 12 to find Koran and 2 other team members exchanging fire with a larger group of attackers. The ambassador was sheltered behind a makeshift barricade, calmly loading a small diplomatic sidearm. "Took you long enough, Captain," Ross called out, a hint of grim humor in her voice. Mara quickly assessed the situation. "Right. Circle around through the maintenance shaft. Koran, on my signal, suppressing fire." She turned to the ambassador. "Ma'am, with respect, stay down." The ambassador merely smiled. "I was handling insurgents before you were born, Captain, but I appreciate the concern." Mara nodded, then activated her tactical visor. The enhanced display highlighted structural weaknesses in the corridor and potential cover points. "Right. Target the environmental controls when you're in position. We need cover." Moments later, Wright's voice came through. "In position, Captain." "Execute!" The corridor's fire suppression system activated, filling the space with dense fog. Simultaneously, Mara and Koran launched a coordinated assault, using the cover to advance and neutralize the attackers. The skirmish was brief but intense, ending with the attackers either unconscious or retreating. "We need to keep moving," Mara said, helping the ambassador over the barricade. They knew our extraction routes, which means our security protocols have been compromised. "Or there's a traitor," Koran added, his reptilian features impossible to read. The ambassador shook her head. "Let's not jump to conclusions. The attackers could have had access to station schematics or monitored our movements." As they regrouped, Specialist Wright approached Mara with his findings. "Captain, I've analyzed components from their weapons. It's definitely based on Dr. Park's emotional regulation technology. But there's more. The neural interface has been modified to not just read emotional states, but to suppress them entirely." "Suppress emotions?" Mara questioned. "To what end?" "Perfect soldiers," the ambassador interjected, her expression grim. "Warriors without fear, without hesitation, without mercy." She looked at Mara. Dr. Park's research was intended to help those suffering from emotional trauma. This perversion would create the opposite, beings incapable of empathy or moral reasoning. A distant explosion shook the station, followed by flashing emergency lights. "They're targeting the station's stabilizers," Wright reported, checking his scanner. "If they damage enough critical systems, Orion Prime could begin to break apart." "This just keeps getting better," Mara muttered. "New plan. We need to split into 2 teams. Koran, take half our forces and get the ambassador to the emergency shuttles. Right. You're with me. We're going to find out who's behind this and stop them before they destroy the station." Koran's tail lashed with agitation. "With respect, Captain. This sounds like a human display of heroics rather than sound strategy. Our mission is to protect Earth's interests, not save the entire station." Mara's eyes flashed. Earth's interests include preventing a catastrophe that could kill thousands and potentially trigger an interstellar incident. Moreover, we need to discover how our technology ended up in these weapons. "Captain Reeves is right," Ambassador Ross stated firmly. "If Earth technology has been weaponized and used in this attack, we must learn how and by whom. The diplomatic fallout would be devastating otherwise." Koran hesitated, then gave a reluctant nod. "As you wish, but I will accompany you, Captain. Specialist Wright can lead the ambassador's escort." "No," Mara replied. "I need Wright's technical expertise, and the ambassador needs your protection. Sergeant." She placed a hand on the Saurian's armored shoulder. "I trust you with her life." After a moment of tension, Koran relented. "Very well, but be cautious, Captain. I sense there is more at play here than mere terrorism." As the team separated, Mara and Wright made their way toward the station's central command hub. If they could access the main systems, they might be able to restore communications and call for Alliance reinforcements. Their progress was slow, navigating through damaged sections and avoiding patrols of the attackers. Wright continued to analyze the data he'd gathered from the weapons. "Captain, I've found something concerning," he said as they paused at a junction. "The modifications to Dr. Park's technology aren't just sophisticated. They're specifically designed to target human neurological patterns." "Meaning?" "Meaning these weapons weren't designed to control just any species. They were created specifically to affect humans." Wright's expression was grave. "Someone is targeting Earth directly." Before Mara could respond, a massive explosion rocked the station. The floor beneath them buckled, and emergency bulkheads began slamming shut throughout the corridor. "Move!" Mara shouted, pushing Wright forward as a bulkhead descended behind them. They barely made it through before the heavy metal door sealed, cutting off their retreat. Alarms blared as the station's automated voice announced, "Critical damage detected in Section 18. Atmospheric integrity compromised. Emergency protocols engaged." Mara checked her tactical display. We're cut off from our planned route. We'll have to go through the central promenade to reach command. The promenade will be exposed, Wright warned. It's likely crawling with hostiles. We don't have a choice. Mara adjusted her weapon settings. Stay close. As they approached the promenade, a vast open area at the heart of the station with shops, eateries, and gathering spaces, Mara's instincts screamed danger. The normally bustling space was unnaturally quiet, the emergency lighting casting eerie shadows across abandoned stalls and overturned furniture. They moved cautiously, using what cover they could find. Halfway across, Wright suddenly grabbed Mara's arm. "Captain, look," he whispered, pointing to a group of attackers escorting a familiar figure, a tall human woman in a lab coat. "Dr. Elena Park," Mara breathed. "She's supposed to be on Earth." The renowned scientist appeared unharmed, but moved with a strange rigidity. Even from a distance, Mara could see her eyes, vacant, emotionless. "They're using the technology on her," Wright realized. "She's under some kind of emotional suppression." Mara made a quick decision. "Change of plans. We need to rescue Dr. Park. She may be the key to understanding what's happening." They tracked the group to a makeshift command post that had been established in what was once a luxury restaurant. Through the windows, they could see Dr. Park working on equipment while armed guards patrolled the perimeter. "I count 8 hostiles," Mara noted. "Heavy weapons, but poor discipline. They're not military." Wright studied the setup. "That equipment. They're building something. Looks like a larger version of the neural interface from the weapons." "A mass suppression device?" Mara suggested. "Possibly. With the right amplification, they could potentially affect everyone on the station." Wright's voice held both professional admiration and horror. "It's brilliant and terrifying." Mara considered their options. 2 against 8, with the need to extract Dr. Park safely and disable whatever device was being built. The odds weren't favorable. "We need a distraction," she decided. "Something to draw most of them away while we extract the doctor." Wright glanced at his equipment pack. "I could rig the environmental systems to simulate a hull breach in the adjacent section. That would trigger alarms and force a response." "Do it!" While Wright worked, Mara continued surveillance. Among the attackers, one figure stood out, taller than the others, wearing more elaborate armor with commanding presence. The others deferred to this individual, who occasionally approached Dr. Park to examine her work. "That's our primary target," Mara whispered. "The leader." Wright finished his preparations. "Ready, Captain. On your mark."
"Execute!"
Alarms blared in the distance, and emergency lighting flashed warnings of a critical breach. As predicted, the leader dispatched most of the guards to investigate, leaving only 2 to watch Dr. Park. Mara and Wright moved quickly. With precision shots from their neural disruptors, they neutralized the remaining guards before they could raise an alarm. Dr. Park didn't even look up from her work, her movements mechanical and precise. "Dr. Park," Mara said, approaching cautiously. "I'm Captain Reeves, Earth Security. We're here to help you." The scientist turned slowly, her expression blank. "Help is unnecessary. The work must continue. She's completely under their control," Wright observed, examining a small device attached to the base of the doctor's skull. "This is the interface module. It's suppressing her emotional responses and likely allowing for direct command inputs." "Can you remove it safely?" Wright hesitated. "It's connected directly to her neural pathways. Removing it improperly could cause permanent damage." A commotion from outside indicated the leader had discovered the deception. They were running out of time. "We need to move," Mara decided. "Bring the doctor. We'll figure out how to help her later." As they prepared to leave, Dr. Park suddenly spoke again, her voice flat but her words chilling. "General Xylan will not allow interference. The liberation requires emotional purification. Humanity's weakness must be excised for the galaxy to evolve." "General Xylan?" Mara questioned.
Who is that?
Before the doctor could respond, the door burst open. The armored leader stood there, flanked by returning guards. Captain Reeves, the modulated voice, spoke from behind the mask. I was wondering when Earth's precious HFY team would make an appearance. Those who wear black, an impressive name for such fragile creatures. Mara positioned herself between the intruders and Wright, who was still supporting Dr. Park. You seem to have me at a disadvantage. You know who I am. But I don't recognize your liberation movement. A low chuckle emerged from the mask. We are the future, Captain. A galaxy free from the chaos of emotion, particularly the dangerous emotional volatility of humans. The figure removed their helmet, revealing a face that shocked Mara to her core. General Xylan was human. Surprised, Captain, Xylan asked, noting Mara's reaction. Did you expect some alien menace? Some traditional adversary? The greatest threats often come from within. You're using Dr. Park's technology to suppress emotions, Mara stated, mind racing to understand. Why? What does that accomplish? Peace, Xylan replied simply. For millennia, emotions have driven conflict, fear, greed, hatred, even love. They all lead to irrational decisions, to war, to suffering. Dr. Park's research offered a solution: precise, emotional regulation. But your short-sighted government restricted it to medical applications only. Because stripping people of emotions strips them of their humanity, Mara argued. Precisely! Xylan's eyes gleamed with fervor, the only emotion visible on an otherwise eerily calm face. Humanity is the problem, Captain. Our species brings chaos wherever we go. The other Alliance members tolerate us because of our technological innovations, but they fear our unpredictability. I'm offering a solution that will secure our place in the galaxy permanently. Wright had been gradually moving Dr. Park toward a secondary exit, while Xylan was focused on Mara. Now, he caught Mara's subtle hand signal and prepared to make their escape. By turning us into emotional zombies? Mara questioned, keeping Xylan's attention. That's not security. It's extinction of everything that makes us human. A small price for guaranteed survival, Xylan countered. The device Dr. Park is helping us complete will demonstrate the effectiveness of emotional suppression to the entire Alliance. When they see how peaceful and productive their societies become, they'll embrace the technology willingly. Forcing it on them isn't exactly building trust, Mara observed, slowly shifting her position to block Xylan's view of Wright and Dr. Park. Xylan smiled thinly. Sometimes the patient requires medicine they would otherwise refuse. The general gestured, and guards raised their weapons. Now, Captain, you have a choice. Join us in building a more stable galaxy, or die here defending outdated notions of freedom. Mara's hand moved subtly toward her tactical belt. I think you're forgetting something important about humans, General.
And what might that be?
We're adaptable. Mara activated a flashbang from her belt, diving aside as the device exploded in a burst of blinding light and disorienting sound. In the chaos, Wright pulled Dr. Park through the exit while Mara provided covering fire. They fled down a service corridor, alarms still blaring throughout the station.
We need to warn the others, Mara said as they ran. Xylan's planning to use that device on the entire station, maybe even targeting the Alliance representatives specifically.
Wright nodded grimly. If the Alliance leadership is subjected to emotional suppression, they could be manipulated into making decisions that would fundamentally alter galactic politics. Earth could be isolated, sanctioned, or worse. They reached a communication terminal, and Wright worked quickly to establish a secure connection. I can't reach the main Alliance frequency, but I might be able to connect to our team's encrypted channel. After tense moments, Koran's voice came through, distorted but audible. Captain, we've secured the ambassador, But the situation has deteriorated. The attackers have taken control of the main hall again and gathered all the Alliance representatives.
Koran, listen carefully, Mara replied. The leader is General Xylan, a human rogue general. They're using modified emotional suppression technology from Earth, originally developed by Dr. Park. They've built a device that can affect large groups, potentially controlling the emotional responses of everyone in range. A human! Koran's surprise was evident even through the static. This complicates matters significantly. We need to stop them before they activate the device. If the Alliance leadership is compromised, the consequences would be disastrous. Ambassador Ross's voice joined the conversation. Captain, if Earth technology is being used in this attack, and the leader is human, we face a diplomatic catastrophe regardless of the outcome. We need to not only stop this attack, but secure evidence that clears Earth of involvement. We have Dr. Park with us, Mara informed them. She was being controlled using the same technology. Wright is working to safely remove the neural interface. Bring her to our position, the ambassador instructed. We've secured a defensible location near Shuttle Bay 3. From there, we can plan our counteroffensive. As they made their way to the rendezvous point, Wright continued his efforts to help Dr. Park. The small neural interface proved challenging to deactivate without proper equipment. Her vitals are stable, he reported as they moved. But I can't fully disable the interface without risking neural damage. The best I can do is disrupt the control signal. Dr. Park remained in a semi-responsive state, occasionally muttering technical specifications or repeating phrases about emotional purification. The brilliant scientist, whose work had been intended to help those suffering from emotional trauma, had become a puppet for those who would weaponize her research. They reached the shuttle bay to find Koran, and the remaining team members had established a secure perimeter. Ambassador Ross immediately approached Dr. Park, concern evident in her expression. Elena, she said gently, can you hear me?
The scientist's eyes flickered. A brief moment of recognition before returning to their vacant state. Ambassador Ross, Project Empathy has been repurposed. Recalibration at 97%. Project Empathy, the ambassador repeated, turning to Mara. That was the classified designation for Dr. Park's research. It was intended to help victims of trauma by temporarily regulating extreme emotional responses while therapy was administered. And now it's being weaponized to create emotionless soldiers and potentially control the Alliance leadership. Mara concluded. We need to stop Xylan before the device is activated. Koran approached, his scaled features set in a grim expression. Captain, while you were en route, we intercepted communications indicating the device will be activated during an address to the captive representatives. General Xylan intends to demonstrate its effectiveness, then offer the Alliance a choice: adopt the technology voluntarily or face forcible implementation.
When?
Approximately 30 minutes from now. Mara considered their options. We're outnumbered and outgunned. A direct assault would likely fail. Perhaps there is another approach, Ambassador Ross suggested. If the device uses Dr. Park's original technology, it might have the same vulnerabilities. All eyes turned to Wright, who was still monitoring Dr. Park's condition. It's possible, he acknowledged. The original empathy system had safeguards, emergency shutdowns in case of malfunction. If Xylan's people maintained those protocols in their modified version.
Could you trigger such a shutdown? Mara asked.
Wright hesitated. Potentially, but I'd need access to their command systems. And there's another problem. The interface modules are designed to be gradually removed, allowing the brain to readjust. A sudden shutdown could cause psychological shock to anyone connected. Including Dr. Park, the ambassador noted. And potentially everyone on the station if the device has already established partial connections, Wright added.
Mara paced, weighing the impossible choices before them. We can't let Xylan succeed, but we can't risk harming innocents either. She stopped suddenly, turning to Wright.
What if we don't shut it down, but redirect it?
What do you mean?
Dr. Park designed the system to help regulate harmful emotional extremes, right? What if we recalibrate the device to enhance emotional awareness instead of suppressing it? Turn Xylan's weapon against him. Wright considered this. Theoretically possible. The base technology is designed to interact with emotional centers in the brain. Reversing the polarity, so to speak, might amplify emotional responses rather than dampen them.
Would that be safe? Koran questioned.
Safer than a complete shutdown, Wright replied.
It would essentially return control to the individuals rather than forcing an artificial state.
But again, I'd need direct access to their systems. Mara nodded decisively. Then, that's our plan. Koran, prepare a diversion at the south entrance to the main hall. Ambassador, I need you to remain here with Dr. Park. Wright and I will infiltrate the control center and modify the device. Captain, Koran interjected, this plan places you at extreme risk.
All plans at this point involve extreme risk.
Sergeant, Mara replied with a hint of a smile. But this one gives us the best chance of success with minimal casualties. As they prepared for the mission, Mara took a moment alone with Ambassador Ross.
If we fail, she said quietly, you need to be ready to leave without us. Earth must know what happened here.
The ambassador's eyes were steady. We won't abandon you, Captain. This isn't about me or even the team. It's about ensuring the truth isn't buried. Mara handed over a data chip. Wright downloaded information from the weapons we encountered. It proves the technology was stolen and modified against its intended purpose. Earth needs this evidence to defend itself against potential accusations. Ross accepted the chip reluctantly. Very well, but I expect to see you at the debriefing, Captain Reeves. Count on it, Mara replied, with more confidence than she felt. 20 minutes later, Mara and Wright were making their way through maintenance tunnels toward the main hall. Koran and his team had begun their diversion, drawing attention to the south entrance with controlled explosions and weapons fire.
Status?
Mara whispered into her comm. Diversion proceeding as planned, Koran reported. Enemy forces are redirecting to our position. Your path should be clearing. They reached a service entrance to the main hall and peered through. The scene inside was tense. Alliance representatives seated under guard, while Xylan's forces made final preparations. At the center of the hall stood the device, larger than Mara had anticipated, with pulsing blue circuitry reminiscent of the smaller weapons. General Xylan moved among the captives, occasionally stopping to speak with specific representatives. Even from a distance, Mara could see the calculated charisma the general employed, a stark contrast to the emotionless soldiers under her command. Control panel is on the northwest side, Wright whispered, pointing. I'll need at least 3 minutes to recalibrate the system.
You'll have them,
Mara promised. They waited for the next rotation of guards, then slipped into the hall, using the chaos of the distant diversion as cover. Moving from shadow to shadow, they worked their way toward the control panel. They were meters away when a voice spoke behind them.
Earth's finest,
General Xylan said coldly, predictable to the end. Mara turned slowly, placing herself between Xylan and Wright. Your plan won't work, General. The Alliance will never accept technology that strips away free will. Free will is an illusion, Captain, one that has cost countless lives throughout history. Xylan's expression remained unnaturally calm, despite the intensity of her words. Decisions made through emotional impulses are rarely rational. I'm offering a galaxy governed by reason alone.
At the cost of everything that makes life worth living, Mara countered. Joy, love, hope, unnecessary luxuries in a dangerous universe.
Xylan interrupted.
Earth is vulnerable.
Captain, our position in the Alliance is precarious. Other species tolerate us because we're useful, but they fear our potential. This technology will make us indispensable. Behind Mara, Wright had carefully positioned himself at the control panel, fingers working discreetly, while attention remained focused on the confrontation. By making us something we're not, Mara argued, buying time. Emotion isn't humanity's weakness. General, it's our strength. Our empathy allows us to form alliances. Our passion drives innovation. Even our fear serves a purpose, warning us of genuine threats. Xylan smiled thinly. Noble sentiments, but ultimately irrelevant. She raised a hand, and her soldiers aimed their weapons at Mara. The demonstration is about to begin, Captain. You're welcome to observe the dawn of a new era, before your execution. Wright caught Mara's eye, giving an almost imperceptible nod. The recalibration was complete. Actually, General, Mara replied, I think you'll find the demonstration quite moving. Confusion flickered across Xylan's face, the first genuine emotion she'd displayed. Before she could respond, Wright activated the modified device. A wave of energy pulsed through the hall, invisible but palpable. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, expressions began to change throughout the room. Xylan's soldiers lowered their weapons, confusion and horror dawning on their faces as emotional awareness returned. Among the captive representatives, a spectrum of responses, fear giving way to anger, relief flooding through those who realized help had arrived. General Xylan herself staggered, a hand going to her head as suppressed emotions came rushing back. What? What have you done? Her voice cracked, the modulated calmness replaced by raw humanity. Restored what you tried to take away, Mara answered. The ability to feel. The general fell to her knees, overwhelmed by the sudden return of emotional capacity. Tears streamed down her face, whether from pain, rage, or remorse was impossible to tell. Throughout the hall, Xylan's forces were similarly affected, many dropping their weapons as they struggled to process the emotional surge. Koran and his team had used the opportunity to enter from the south, securing the perimeter and beginning to free the representatives. Ambassador Ross arrived with medical personnel who immediately began attending to those affected by the emotional manipulation. Dr. Park, now partially recovered from her own ordeal, moved among them, providing guidance on treatment. It will take time, she explained to Mara, her voice weak but determined. The neural pathways need to re-establish normal function. Some may experience emotional volatility for several days, but there should be no permanent damage. Mara nodded. And Xylan? Dr. Park glanced at the general, now secured and under guard. She's been using the technology on herself longer than anyone. Her recovery will be challenging. Ambassador Ross joined them, surveying the scene with a mixture of relief and concern. We have a complicated situation ahead. Captain, Earth technology was indeed weaponized, albeit against our will and by one of our own. The diplomatic fallout will be significant. But manageable, Mara suggested. We have evidence that the research was stolen and perverted against its intended purpose, and we stopped the attack before permanent harm could be done. Thanks to those who wear black, the ambassador acknowledged with a small smile. I believe a commendation is in order. In the days that followed, the situation at Orion Prime gradually stabilized. Alliance security forces arrived to take custody of General Xylan and her remaining followers. Dr. Park, once fully recovered, worked tirelessly to help those affected by the emotional suppression technology. Mara found herself facing a difficult decision. The evidence they'd gathered clearly showed that Earth was not complicit in Xylan's plot, but it also revealed vulnerabilities in how advanced research was secured. Full disclosure would protect Earth diplomatically, but might expose sensitive information about human technological capabilities. The night before the Alliance Security Council hearing, Mara stood alone in the observation deck of Orion Prime, gazing out at the stars. The station had been repaired enough to restore artificial gravity and life support. though scars of the attack remained visible throughout. Ambassador Ross found her there, joining her at the viewport. "Troubled, Captain." "Considering our options," Mara replied. "Full disclosure protects Earth from accusations but exposes vulnerabilities. Partial disclosure maintains some security, but might leave room for suspicion." "What does your instinct tell you?" Mara was silent for a moment. "That half-truths have a way of becoming full problems later on. That trust, once damaged, is nearly impossible to fully restore." She turned to face the ambassador. "I believe we should disclose everything. The original purpose of Project Empathy, how it was compromised, and the steps we're taking to prevent similar incidents." Ross nodded slowly. "Transparency carries risks." "So does secrecy," Mara countered. "The alliance was formed on principles of mutual support and shared knowledge. If we expect trust from other species, we must demonstrate trustworthiness." "You sound like a diplomat, Captain," Ross observed with a slight smile. "I'll take that as a compliment, Ambassador." The following morning, Mara stood before the Alliance Security Council. The black uniform of her team, a stark contrast against the colorful array of representatives. Koran stood at her side, his presence a testament to the diversity of those who wear black. "Representatives of the Galactic Alliance," Mara began. "What occurred at Orion Prime was not simply a terrorist attack, but an attempt to fundamentally alter the nature of our alliance through technological coercion." She proceeded to explain the full story, how Dr. Park's research had been intended to help trauma victims, how General Xylan had stolen and perverted it, and how Earth was implementing new security protocols to prevent similar incidents. "Humanity acknowledges that our technology, even when developed with benevolent intent, carries responsibilities that extend beyond our own world. We are committed to ensuring that the gifts of our innovation benefit the Alliance rather than threaten it." When she finished, the council chamber was silent. Then, one by one, representatives began to signal their acceptance of Earth's explanation and proposed remedies. The Aquarian High Chancellor rose, his translucent blue skin rippling. "Captain Reeves, the Alliance acknowledges Earth's transparency in this matter. While the incident raises concerns about technological safeguards, your team's actions have demonstrated humanity's commitment to the principles of our coalition. Those who wear black exemplify the best qualities of your species: adaptability, courage, and most importantly, a fundamental respect for the emotional autonomy that all sentient beings cherish." After the formal proceedings concluded, Mara found herself in a quiet corner of the station's rebuilt promenade. A small cafe had reopened, offering a view of the stars that had once again become a peaceful panorama rather than a backdrop to conflict. Koran joined her, his massive frame making the human-sized chair look comically small. "You made the right choice, Captain." Mara corrected. "We made the right choice." The Saurian's scaled face shifted in what Mara had learned to recognize as a smile. "I had my doubts about serving under a human commander. Your species seems fragile compared to most." "And yet," Mara replied with a grin, "we managed to survive." "More than survive," Koran acknowledged. "Your emotional capacity, what General Xylan saw as a weakness, proved to be your greatest strength. You understood what she could not, that feeling and reason are not opposites, but complementary aspects of intelligence." Their conversation was interrupted as the rest of the team arrived, taking seats around the table. Wright, now promoted to lieutenant for his role in the crisis, raised a glass. "To those who wear black," he toasted. "May we continue to surprise the galaxy." As glasses clinked and conversation flowed, Mara looked at her team, human and non-human alike, all unified by purpose and the simple black uniforms that had become their trademark. The galaxy might still underestimate humanity based on physical appearances, but recent events had taught a powerful lesson. True strength came in many forms, and often, the most formidable was invisible to the eye. Outside the viewport, a transport ship departed for Earth, carrying Dr. Park and her research team. The scientist had vowed to continue her work, developing safeguards to ensure her technology could never again be weaponized. Ambassador Ross had remained at Orion Prime, overseeing the diplomatic aftermath and negotiating new security protocols for the sharing of advanced technologies. And throughout the station, life gradually returned to normal. Diplomats from hundreds of worlds resuming their work, commerce flowing once again through the bustling corridors. The scars remained, both physical and psychological, but they would heal with time. Mara raised her own glass, catching the light from distant stars. "To feeling," she said simply. Around the table, her team, those who wear black, echoed the sentiment, understanding its profound significance after all they had witnessed. In a galaxy of incredible diversity, the capacity for emotion remained a unifying thread, a reminder that beneath different physiologies, atmospheres, and evolutionary paths, sentient beings shared a fundamental need to connect, to care, and to feel. As they finished their drinks and prepared to return to duty, Mara knew that challenges lay ahead. Earth's position in the Alliance remained complicated. General Xylan's conspiracy had likely left roots that would need to be discovered and eliminated, and the balance between technological advancement and ethical responsibility would require constant vigilance. But for now, in this moment of respite, she allowed herself to feel what Xylan had feared most: the full spectrum of human emotion, pride in her team, hope for the future, and the quiet satisfaction of knowing that those who wear black had once again proven that humanity's greatest strength lay not in domination, but in connection, not in suppressing emotions, but in embracing them as the foundation of true intelligence and the cornerstone of lasting peace.